Hello everyone and welcome back to The Little Quilter. Today we are going to be continuing the Pas de Deux quilt by Rachel Hauser. This quilt was a block of the month quilt, but I am now working on it just as we go, and when you purchase this quilt pattern you get all of the patterns so you can just sit down and work through it. Don't have to wait for it to come every single month. We're currently on month 5, halfway through, so last time we finished the orange peel block, and this time we're going to be working on a block called Transparency. So here is what that block is going to look like. So the color recommendations are dark green, green, and gray. Now, I do not have any gray fabrics from Edyta Sitar's laundry basket fabrics. I'm not sure if she even has a gray. I don't know, but I don't have any in my little stash of fabric. And since I'm trying to stick with the laundry basket fabrics, what I decided to do was to do the dark green and green and to substitute that with more of her tan neutrals. And I did use a few of these colors right here. Let me grab some. Of this. So I've used this fabric before in one of the other blocks and I just really loved it. I thought it was just really, really gorgeous, so I wanted to use it again in this instance. I've also tried to use a couple other pieces of fabric that I actually haven't even cut into this time. So still trying to add some of that fabric. I still have a handful of fabrics left that I have not even cut into, really not many. So I have already cut all of my pieces, and here are some of my green fabrics. Again, you probably will recognize these because I've already done several blocks with the green fabric, and again, I only have so much of it. After I cut my blocks last night, I stayed up pretty late watching Pride and Prejudice and cutting out the squares for this. I ended up deciding to go ahead and put the first step is to put the 4 patch blocks together. And so I went ahead and put those together. Unfortunately, my light died, so I didn't get to film all of it, but I went ahead and finished it. So we have one step already completed of just doing a 4 patch block with our lighter color and then our dark greens here. And I'll show you another one of those. So they really turned out really fun and pretty. So now we're going to progress into the rest of this quilt. It looks, let me show you here. So it looks a little complicated in my opinion. I'm hoping that it's not going to be as complicated as it looks, but it does look a little complicated, so it might take me a moment to just read through the directions and pay attention so that I do this correctly and don't have to unpick anything. So let's go ahead and let's jump into this. Okay, so I'll just show you guys quickly the 4 patch blocks that I've got here and how they turned out, and kind of just give you an idea of the color wheel that we're working with here. I think using this tan color is going to work quite well for the colors between there rather than using the gray. All right, now we're going to set these aside, I believe, and move on to the next part. Okay, I've already messed up. So well, not messed up, but I didn't read through the instructions on this little thing here. And when I got to the next step after these beautiful 4 patch blocks, what they recommended to do was, well, let me show you. What it said to do was to actually match these colors. And so originally you saw I just picked pieces out and put them on there and actually was choosing not to match them. And then I realized they're supposed to match. So I went through and said, okay, what are all the ones that I have to match? Because again, I just randomly picked these and didn't look at what I had also cut from this pile. So I was pretty good on everything except this block and this block. And thankfully, I have enough. So I have this block and I have this, which this is just barely enough. Let's see. It's just barely enough to make this block. So that was super lucky. So I'm going to cut these pieces to the right size and then I'll be able to sew these together. So if you're making this, you might want to take note of that. Okay, crisis averted. We did it. This one is a smidge short on either side. I was just a little bit short, but this is literally the last piece of big fabric that I have for this, so it has to work. And I'm hoping that just being like that little 1/8 of an inch short will take up for it as we sew through the other pieces onto it. But I think they turned out really well. It's an interesting start to this block. Okay, I think I've got this first block done, which goes like this, making sure I have it right. Obviously, initial, that's not right. You're supposed to have the same color here, which again, I had already ran out of this fabric. So I just got as close to that colorway as possible. And I found this piece of fabric, which is just a smidge short. We're doing a little bit of fudging here, okay? Curse my intent to adequately use my fabric. If I had just cut all of the lots of fabric and not tried to scrimp and use all of my little pieces, I probably would have just inherently cut the right amount of fabric with the right coordinating fabric, I guess. But that's not what I did. Just a lesson for those of you who are doing this to make sure you read that part and get your color matching properly so you get that sort of just like little L shape that's going on here. All right, the next part I believe is going to be attaching these two, and that way again we get that. So that's why I had to fudge this piece, because I needed it to match this piece to give us this next block. So slowly figuring it out, still have no idea. There was one step in there that I read that I was like, I have no idea what it's talking about, but I'm figuring it out based on the pattern picture, and so far so good. Okay, so I have to iron this, but I wanted to show you the progress thus far. This thing's getting pretty big here. So this is what it's looking like. I feel like it's very appropriate for the time of season. It seems so Christmassy. I guess just because there's so much green in there. But it is beautiful. This really would be a really fun Christmas block. Like if you just did this in even if you just did these center blocks in like red as like a super pop, I think that would be so pretty. But I'm loving how this is turning out. So let's keep going. Okay, everybody, we have finished the transparency block, and although it's not perfect because I was not able to match every single square, it did turn out pretty good. So I will show you here. This part is going to attach to another portion of the pas de deux quilt, and of course we've got a partial seam here for that, so that's why this is a little bit wonky, but it turned out it's a really large block, so it turned out really good. I'm going to now hide behind the block and show you guys, hopefully that you can see it and enjoy it. And of course I'll do a little close-up for, I think it turned out really, really cool. You still have that central with the dark color little squares going through, and matched most of those pieces, especially right in the center here. I definitely got those pieces right. A little bit sad that I have these two so close together, but it's okay. I think it's fine. I do like that this one ended up going in like the same direction, which was nice. I would not have been able to do that with this one, but as always, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. It was a bit of a tricky one, and one that if you're watching this video and working on your own pas de deux quilt, please take note of that color pattern and what blocks need to be the same color whenever you're cutting your fabric out, so you don't end up like me. If you do end up like me, don't fret. Sometimes you can change it up. And the other thing that I did that just kind of helped was to choose blocks that were very similar in color, even if they weren't exactly matching. So for this block, and then down here, these two are actually different colors as well, or different patterns as well, but they look really good. And then from far away, it's not as noticeable that those blocks are not quite the same. So just a tip, if you've done what I've done, try and just get them in a same color tone or similar pattern so that they kind of mesh a little bit better. Again, once you have this quilt out there, there's so much going on in the pas de deux quilt that I don't think anybody's going to notice those little bitty parts there. And it's supposed to be a scrappy quilt anyways, so to a certain extent it can be made to look that way, even if you just wanted to do it that way and match your color tones and not actually have the same exact fabric. I think it would look beautiful. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you again next time on The Little Quilter, and have a wonderful day. Thanks.